Credit card debt doesn't usually feel impossible at the beginning. At first, it feels manageable. Tell yourself it's temporary. Just a few months. Just until things calm down. You make the minimum payment. Sometimes you even pay a little extra. You don't ignore the bill. You don't run from it. Yet months later, the balance is still there. Sometimes it's higher than before. In my moment, I'll explain why this happens even to people who are careful, responsible, and genuinely trying. What makes credit card debt feel so heavy isn't just the number on the statement. It's the feeling of effort without progress. You feel like you're doing what you're supposed to do, but the situation doesn't reward you. That gap between effort and outcome slowly drains motivation. Later, I'll show you why that gap is built into the system, not a sign that you're failing. Most people don't wake up one day and decide to get buried in credit card debt. It usually starts with normal life. It's a bill that comes at the wrong time. It's a paycheck that doesn't stretch as far as it used to. Groceries that quietly cost more each month. Insurance premiums that creep up without warning. When income and expenses stop lining up, the credit card fills the space. At first, it feels like a bridge. Something you'll cross and then leave behind. But over time, that bridge turns into a place you're standing on permanently. This is where the system begins to work against you quietly. Credit cards don't punish you immediately. They don't yell. They don't collapse all at once. They slowly drain momentum. Interest accumulates in the background while you focus on staying current. In a moment, I'll explain why this slow pressure is what makes credit card debt feel impossible to escape. Let's talk about real numbers, because clarity starts there. Imagine carrying a $3,500 balance on a card with a 25% interest rate. The minimum payment might be around $105. You pay it every month on time, you don't miss. Early on, a large portion of that payment goes to interest, maybe $70 or $75. That means only a small amount reduces the balance. You can do this for months and barely see movement. It's not because you're lazy, because interest stretches time. This is where many people start feeling discouraged. They think, if I'm paying every month and the balance isn't dropping, what's the point? That thought is dangerous, not because it's wrong emotionally, but because it's exactly how people get stuck longer. Later, I'll explain how to shift this without needing a big raise or a perfect plan. Another layer that makes credit card debt feel impossible is how it interacts with credit scores. Payment history is the largest factor in a credit score, roughly 1/3 of the total. That means paying on time matters a lot. Missing even one payment can hurt more than most people expect. Single late payment can drop a score by dozens of points and stay there for years. Because of that, people prioritize staying current at all costs. That makes sense? But here's the confusing part. Paying on time mostly protects you from damage, doesn't automatically create improvement. Credit utilization, which is how much of your available credit you're using, plays a huge role too. Imagine you have a $6,000 credit limit, and you're carrying a $4,500 balance. That's 75% utilization. Even with perfect payments, that level signals risk to the scoring system. Now imagine you pay the balance down to $3,000. Your utilization drops to 50%. That single change can move your score more than months of on-time payments alone. This is why people feel stuck while doing everything right. They're preventing harm, but they're not yet changing the picture the system sees. In a moment, I'll explain why this misunderstanding keeps people trapped longer than necessary. Credit card debt also feels impossible because it stacks with everything else. Student loans, car payments, rent increases by now-pay-later plans. Each obligation pulls from future income. By the time the credit card bill arrives, there's very little flexibility left. So people juggle. They move money around. They choose which bill to stress about this month. None of this feels irresponsible. It feels like survival. This is where many people accidentally make things worse without realizing it. They spread payments thinly across multiple cards instead of lowering utilization on one. They focus on the smallest balance because it feels emotionally good, even if it doesn't change their overall risk. They wait for motivation instead of reducing pressure points. Later, I'll show you what actually helps instead, calmly and realistically. There's also an emotional weight to credit card debt that's easy to underestimate. It follows you everywhere. Every purchase decision feels loaded. Even when you don't buy anything, your mind is running numbers in the background. That constant low-grade stress makes it harder to think clearly, which leads to more reactive decisions. The debt doesn't just live on paper, it lives in your nervous system. Now let's talk about income, because this is where a lot of advice falls apart. Willpower does not beat math. If your income barely covers your fixed costs, discipline alone won't create stability. You can cut small expenses, track every dollar, and still feel trapped. This is why income margin matters more than motivation. That doesn't mean chasing risky schemes or working nonstop. Fast money usually backfires because it adds volatility. Slow, boring income works because it's predictable. An extra $250 a month doesn't sound exciting, but it can be the difference between staying above a utilization threshold and dropping below it. Between panic and breathing room. Side hustles that last are usually boring. Extra shifts. Freelance work using skills you already have. Simple services people consistently need. These don't promise freedom. They create margin. And margin is what allows credit card debt to actually shrink. This is also why credit card debt feels impossible to escape emotionally. Progress is slow and invisible at first. You don't feel relief right away. But once one pressure point eases, everything else gets easier too. Today, the most important step isn't fixing everything, stopping new damage. That might mean automating minimum payments so nothing goes late. It might mean choosing one card to focus on lowering utilization instead of spreading money thin. It might mean pausing new charges wherever possible. These moves don't feel dramatic, but they reduce stress immediately. This week, the focus is clarity, knowing balances, limits, and interest rates. Not to judge yourself, but to see where leverage exists. Clarity alone lowers anxiety before any money changes. This month, the goal is margin. One realistic income move, or one balance reduction that changes how risky your profile looks. Not perfection, traction. Credit card debt feels impossible to escape because it's designed to move slowly while life moves fast. Once you understand that, shame loosens. Progress becomes possible again. Financial repair is slow. It doesn't feel impressive, but it works. And if this explanation feels uncomfortably familiar, there's more clarity ahead. One step at a time.